Tennessee slips by Florida in overtime, 23-17. And we were all premature. I was premature calling Tennessee national championship contenders. And this is one thing, that I've always kind of been caught up with about football, but you still have to respect it because of the offensive output. But when you don't play anybody and you're highly ranked and you have yet to play the meat of your schedule, which is going to include your SEC conference games, it's hard to judge you, but we can't take away a 69-point outing versus Chattanooga, a 71-point outing versus, I can't remember the team it was, blowing out NC State, 52-10, if I'm not mistaken, there on the score. But Tennessee has now met a little bit of their match in the SEC. They now see these are the teams we're going to have to go through. These are the teams that we're probably going to see in the playoffs, not Florida, of course, not NC State, of course. But when we talk about the meat of their schedule, like we will here in a minute, they're just having to adjust to SEC play. And again, when your schedule is weak, a lot of people are going to call you good. I was definitely premature calling them national championship contenders, but they look solid. The win over Oklahoma, very overrated. I think Oklahoma is arguably the most overrated team in college football. I know they're dealing with injuries. They're offensively broken. I don't think they should be ranked. And the win against NC State, I'm not sold on. NC State had to take up some bottom 20s of the rankings earlier in the year because we just didn't know anything yet. But again, Tennessee, they feel kind of fraudulent since stepping into SEC play, and especially with competition stepping up. Alabama's next, which just as I'm talking about this game and as I was researching this game to recap on, it feels like Alabama's going to win that game just seeing how these two teams have played lately. Alabama's next. Georgia and Vanderbilt are two of the final three games for Tennessee. And Tennessee's passing game has absolutely disappeared here lately. Nico Iamaleava has been disappointing since the competition stepped up. Again, Oklahoma, overrated, fundamentally broken. NC State is NC State. I'm not impressed by those ranked wins. Those don't matter to me because you're going to play way tougher people later in the year. And even I think even Tennessee at 11 is still a bit overrated. I won't even lie to you. I think they're a bit overrated at 11, but, the rankings are going to be the rankings, and teams are going to take up the spots that the poll wants them to take up. But offense hasn't been impressive once they started playing this competition. Under 20 points per game in the SEC games that they've played. Obviously, bukus of points more when they're playing outside of the conference. Now, Nico did come out in this game with a couple of nice strikes for a couple first downs, but then his turnover issues continued. Opening drive, fumble, just plays later. And Tennessee's defense is the reason they won this game, and it took the offense a minute to get going. They better be thanking Dylan Sampson for literally putting the team on his back and being able to make it happen. But Tennessee's defense shows up early. They had a couple of first quarter and third quarter, a couple of first quarter, 3rd and 1 to actually test them. And then they stand up Trey Wilson on the 4th and 1 in the second quarter. They forced that fumble on the goal line on Graham Mertz, which I thought was a great play. Graham Mertz probably should go down before that play happens, but shout out to the guys that were able to get their hands in there and cause that fumble. But just wow from Tennessee's defense, being able to really keep them in it in a very ugly, scrappy game where you have Florida up 10-0 on you. And they could have easily been up 17, 20 plus to nothing on you. But we saw Florida driving on Tennessee's defense. When you get Tennessee to play out in space and you get your receivers out in space Florida was kind of flashing some speed there, and they were just scheming their guys up, being physical. Those runs from Montrell Johnson, you felt them start to wear on Tennessee. Now, Florida was outplaying Tennessee on a couple of key drives in this game. And then Tennessee's defense, as I've said, as they've done all year, as they'll continue to do, it'll save the day. They had a 3rd and 14 at the end of the first half that they were able to get stood up on. And respect to Josh Heupel for putting some fight back in his guys. 4th and 1 call inside your own 20. Tennessee converts. But then Nico stares down his receivers, holds the ball for a little too long, which has been his fatal flaw here lately. And he throws an interception. So now Nico has turned the ball over twice in this game. And when you just look drive for drive, Florida had multiple drives in the first half stalled on later downs. Tennessee should have lost this football game. But as we always say, the better team usually wins. And they played better situationally. Graham Mertz is decent. DJ Lagway is a true freshman. We've had our conversations about Billy Napier. But the incompetence on too many men on the field at the end of the first half drive with a field goal, the incompetence at the end of drives and Maybe not so much incompetence, but again, Tennessee's defense, the front four, the front seven, it is legit. It is going to give people problems. Florida, just how weird of a game this was. Florida was 12-3 when leading at halftime under Billy Napier, albeit it was 3-0, could have been 6-0. Again, I think they should have had about 10 points walking into halftime. Tennessee was 1-12 under Josh Heupel when losing at halftime. So you wonder what could have really happened in this game. Well, what did happen was better coaching, and that's why Tennessee escaped. It could have, like I said, could have easily been 17-0, 20 plus nothing for Florida, but they stalled drives. That Tennessee defense came in and did what they did. And, I'll just go ahead and say, listen, this won't fly down the road for Tennessee. And Tennessee fans know that. We understand that. But it has to be said, because for Tennessee to be considered in the conversations they've been considered in, to have the rankings that they do, it's not going to fly. It will not fly. It's a flaw of theirs. And it could definitely get exposed. Again, if you get physical, if you get your guys in space, a lot of the fundamental things that, bend football teams out of shape. But Tennessee gets gifted with an awful DJ Lagway pick. They only mustered a field goal while being in the red zone. They ended that they ended that drive on a 4th and long. So more missed opportunities for that Tennessee offense. But all you got to do is call Dylan Sampson, one of the best running backs in the nation, come and have him come in, save their life in the game, with the only 3 touchdowns of the game all coming off of Dylan Sampson's legs, including the one to win it in overtime. Florida could have easily won this game. But Tennessee was slightly better due to their defense, holding it down for a true freshman quarterback in DJ Lagway, a decent quarterback in Graham Mertz, and Billy Napier has been Billy Napier for the time he's been there, for lack of better words. But yeah, this was a concerning one for Tennessee, and Tennessee looked concerning after the Arkansas game. Nico's passing game is drying up. Nico is turning the ball over. He is staring down his receivers. He is holding the ball for too long because he's playing that higher level of competition. And like I said, Alabama's next. I'll probably go ahead and say on the show, I got Alabama winning the game. I don't know the over-under. I don't know who's favored. I know they're in Knoxville. I got Alabama winning the game. But you got Georgia and Vanderbilt for 2 of your last 3 games of the year. Now, Georgia comes to your house, but you go to Vandy to end the season. So it'll be interesting to see how Tennessee shakes out. They're a 1-loss football team right now. I think they could very well, what's it called? I think Florida. I think Tennessee could very well, be a 3-loss football team, and I think in the SEC, possibly, it could be hard to get in as a 3-loss team. Shout out to my cousin Ryan, who supports the show and watches the show as well. Him and I had a really good conversation about how it would be possible for a 3-loss team to sneak into the college football playoff, which I didn't think necessarily would be.